Okay, so here's another game that I played. This one was much more recent, actually. This was a practice game for the Crossroads GT in New York. And I'm playing against Keith Bonneau, who's a member of my wargaming group. And these are the respective armies that we took to Crossroads. Demons for me, obviously, and Lizardmen for him. And okay, so here's the deployment. The left side of my deployment zone, I have a Bloodletter Horde with a Herald, which you're probably confused about why they're over here, but I will return to that later. I have a Fiend, a Crusher. I have my General, who's a Great Unclean One, kitted out like so. This is my favorite build because he's kind of like a Swiss Army Great Unclean One, because he does everything. He's a good counter to a lot of kind of funky stuff that demons otherwise have problems with. Next to him is my Soul Grinder, who I've really grown fond of. Behind, kind of barely in the picture, is my Tzeentch Herald, who's got a scroll and the Lore of Metal. And then I have another Blood Crusher behind the Soul Grinder. And then over here I have another Bloodletter Horde, a unit of Furies behind that water feature, a Fiend, and some Chameleon Skink friends who showed up to give me some trouble. Let's see. So Keith's deployment, he's got on the left there, at the far left, he's got a Salamander, unit of 10 Skirmishing Skinks, a Jungle Swarm, it looks like, is that blue thing behind the Pterodon bases, another unit of 2 Salamanders, and then he's got a Skink Crocs unit, and he's bunkering one of his Scarvets in there. And that one is kitted out like so. Basically, he's got a Scarvet in there because I obviously have the metal magic, so he can't have 1-up save Scarvets running around. Looks like another Jungle Swarm. And then here he's got a bunker, a Saurus bunker, with 2 Slann kitted out like so. His general's got metal and his other one's got death. And then he's got another Scarvet in there. In front of the bunker is another unit of 10 Skinks. And there's a building with a unit of Pterodons behind it. So he's actually, both of us have really, really tournament streamlined dirty lists. So this is I really enjoyed this game. Returning to the issue of my Bloodletter Horde on the left, the reason why I put him over there is because at the point where I was deploying that unit, and I think it was my last drop before characters, I had no idea where he was going to put his Slann bunker, because he just had so many more drops than me. And basically, he left this corner open, and I was thinking that if he just put it in that corner, I was just going to lose the game. Because there's no way I'd be able to. He would do so much damage with his metal and death magic that by the time I got into him, it would take me so long that by the time I actually got there and started to get some points, the game would be over. So it kind of sucks that it takes this Bloodletter Horde out of the game, basically, but they had to go there to keep me from just losing before it started. So anyway, nevertheless, I am moving them full speed towards the action. My Metal Herald goes behind some screening terrain so that he can't get shot. Or really what it is the Pterodons. I'm terrified of Pterodons because he can just, if I put him too close, they can just fly over him and just drop rocks and kill him. One thing I learned about, one of the reasons I really like the metal magic is he does not have to be near the action at all to have a huge impact on the game, because the spells have such great range. You can see I'm being very wary with my Fiend and my Blood Crusher because, again, I don't want to give him enough space to fly over them with the Pterodons and be able to clear them. I want him, if he drops rocks on any of my chaff, I want him to not have space to clear him, so he has to land in front, so I'll be able to charge him, basically. So that's why they're standing off like so. Big Papa's being relatively aggressive. But he's also, instead of just running him straight at the Salon Bunker, I'm kind of moving him around toward the outside to kind of just corral the skinks. Like, basically, I'm just trying to cut off his avenues of escape. Which may or may not be a good call, because if you watch my battle reports, you know I don't play against tournament lizardmen very much. So I was kind of unsure about how to go about it. But anyway, that's my thinking. I'm trying to corral skinks and keep them from getting away. Different story over here, though. I just basically take my soul grinder and this bloodletter horde, and I'm just shoving him down his throat. And then I have my blood crusher and my furies over here to try to keep the chameleon skinks from just running rampant. A lot of people ask me about the single crushers and why I use them and things like that, and this is definitely a matchup that highlights their utility, because of the armor save. They are much more capable of controlling chameleon skinks than, say, for example, a fiend. Yeah, so here's just one of the chameleon skinks. Alright, and so here's how we're looking at the end of my turn. You can see that a substantial, basically, the positioning of all my support units is just basically completely centered around controlling his support units. So definitely put a lot of thought into where I was putting all my stuff. So he moves up his chameleon skink, so he'll be shooting at short range of the Furies, and will thus be able to guarantee killing the unit this round. I think everything else he just kind of moves back. He's just, yeah, I mean, he doesn't want to commit. He doesn't want to give me any easy charges. He does redirect the Soul Grinder with a Jungle Swarm, which is facing to the left, so if I charge it, the overrun is... it's front arc, so the overrun will basically put me in front of the bloodletters, so... Not that that's necessarily important, just, I can't charge it. Let's see. Yeah, so there's the rest of my movement phase. Thinking magic, I think of the previous magic phase, that magic card by the Great and Clean One, is I just cast Glittering Scales on him just in case. Just he's got a lot of poison shooting, and I would rather them not be nickel and diming wounds off the Great and Clean One, because that's usually how he dies, is that shooting. So in his shooting phase, obviously erases the Furies. Yeah, kills the Furies, and yeah. So in my next turn, move the bloodletters up. On the left here, they're not going to be able to do anything, but over here you can see that salamander up on the top left. Basically, you just put him around the flank of the bloodletter unit, and at this point, I have to ignore it, because if I chase that thing, they're not going to have any impact on the game whatsoever. So as much as I don't relish the idea of a salamander laying templates down on the flank of my bloodletter horde, there's nothing to do. It's just I have to ignore it. So using my fiend to kind of control where the skinks can move, and then I put my metal herald behind them for cover from the skink shooting, and then like I was saying earlier about my general, I'm just moving him out wide to kind of just corral the skinks and keep them from being able to get away. Which actually, in hindsight, I should probably be a little more aggressive with him, I think. So over here, instead of charging the Soul Grinder into the redirecting Jungle Swarm, I charge the Bloodletters into it, and then I just pivot the Soul Grinder around it, and then move him his full move, his 8 inches, I pivot him so he's sideways, so he can get around it, and move him half his movement, 4 inches sideways, and then pivot him again to face the front, because I want to shoot him with... He's got the flamethrower upgrade, so I want to drop that template on the Saurus unit and kill a bunch of them, so that'll be fun. And then the Bloodletters, I decided to charge the Bloodletters into the Jungle Swarm, because I would get... Not only would I be getting rid of the redirector, but I would get a little more movement plus a reform to kind of get around the building. Yeah, because maneuvering that horde around the building was going to be a problem later on, and if I just charge the swarm, I'll get a combat reform, and that'll kind of solve that issue for me, which I like. Otherwise, the chaff units, my chaff units are just kind of playing around with charge arcs to kind of pin down some skinks, which it really doesn't look like they're doing much, but if you pay attention to where their charge arcs are, you can kind of see what I'm doing to try to overlap and catch the skinks and make it so they can't really run rampant. Whether or not I'm actually doing a good job of that, I mean, you can decide, but whatever. That's what I'm trying to do. Fiend. The Fiend's positioned so that he'll get cover against at least one unit, and then these two guys are just trying to keep the chameleons from killing all my stuff. Yeah. Okay, so after close combat, like I said, reform the bloodletters narrow so that I can fit through, so I can have some room to maneuver to go get his stuff. And yeah. Okay, so here's how we're looking going into the Lizardmen next turn. Actually, this looks like after his movement phase. So he's charged his Skink Crocs unit into the Soul Grinder, which really is not a very good matchup for me because I lose the Thunderstomp because they're a unique unit. But, basically yeah. I really don't see how else to mitigate that or whatever. On the left there, he's got another unit of Skinks. Actually, I'll talk about that later. So he's redirecting my Bloodletter unit with the Pterodons, which I apologize for the quality of the picture, but the Pterodons are in front of my Bloodletter unit, so I can't countercharge into the flank of the Skinks. He puts his bunker in. He puts his bunker in the building, and then joins his two Scarvets to this unit because they can't go in the building, I don't think. So he joins them to the Skink unit as they are now, and then moves the chameleons like so. And this unit of Skinks, he just basically he doesn't really have much for them to do over here. They're not really going to do any good, so he just uses them to slow down my Bloodletter horde. Which basically, this redirection here just basically takes them out of the game for good. Because they're not going to have enough time to get in there and actually make a difference. And then he moves his Salamander to the flank to try to kill some of my guys. Magic phase is pretty nasty, so he death snipes my my Battle Standard Herald in this Bloodletter unit, and then kills a bunch of them either with shooting and magic or some combination of the two. And let's see. Yeah. Basically, this is how we're looking. I think this. I don't know if this is at the end of combat or the beginning, but my Soul Grinder's got 2 wounds. I think it might be at the end of combat. So yeah, he does 2 wounds to the Soul Grinder. He's tough. Soul Grinder's a tough 7, so I doubt that he actually did the 2 wounds. It was probably just from instability. Over here, his Salamander, I think, misfires. So he eats a skink instead of actually shooting me. And here's just an overview of the table again from this angle. If you watch the Bragging Rights battle reports on YouTube, you'll recognize this table from his reports because this actually took place at his house. So, kind of funny. But anyway. So we go to the Daemons next turn. I just go ahead and charge the Bloodletters into the redirected Skinks because I might as well. And then I could have declared a really long charge. Well, not a really long, but like a 9-inch or a charge on the Skink Crocs unit with my Great Unclean One and needing a 9 to get in. I decided against it. I figured I'd just move him to the flank. Because he would lose his Thunderstomp, and when he loses his Thunderstomp, he's really not that great at fighting, so I just decided against that. I Let's see. It looks like he now in his previous turn he moved his pterodon unit to drop rocks on my fiend in the woods, and they failed to kill it, and they didn't have enough movement to get 1 inch past it or whatever. They didn't have enough room, so he had to drop them. They had to turn around and land right in front of him, so I was able to charge him. And I'm not sure why he didn't flee. I think it was a better move not to flee the charge, because now he's just he would have just bounced through the combat and not done anything. But now he's blocking the fiend or whatever. He might actually kill it too. So he didn't flee the charge, and I don't think that was necessarily a bad call. But I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, so fiend charges the pterodons in the woods, and then my bloodletter unit charges the pterodons that are redirecting them. And magic is fairly uneventful because it's really difficult to get anything through with 2 Slann. Actually, I think I threw 6 dice at Final Transmutation on his bunker to try to nab one of the Slann with the spell. And I double sixed it and killed a bunch of Saurus, but didn't get one of the characters. So in close combat, the Skink Crocs unit blows up my Soul Grinder, and then in a completely mystifying display, my Bloodletters fail to kill even a single pterodon. So he basically holds on his cold-blooded leadership check, and yeah, completely mystified. My fiend down below fails to kill a pterodon, or fails to even do a wound. So, yeah, not so good. However, my Bloodletter unit on the left actually succeeded in killing the skinks and overran quite far, and actually might see some action now. So in his turn, he pulls his bunker out of the building. I think over the course of the game we were talking about how he was going to go about this, and we both decided that the better move was to stay in the building, but he wanted to see if he could pull him out and actually finish off one of my Bloodletter units to get a bunch of points. So, yeah, so that's definitely something that you would do in a practice game, but never ever in a tournament game. So it's good to figure these things out before we actually go to Crossroads. So anyway, he takes the Skink Crocs unit, charges the flank of a fiend because he killed my Soul Grinder and really didn't expect it, but now he might as well take the flank charges while he's got him. And then he takes his last Jungle Swarm and then redirects the Bloodletters again, so that officially will basically take them out of the game. Yeah. So in close combat, my Bloodletters kill the Pterodon unit. No, they actually don't even kill it. They win the combat, and the thing breaks, and it flies up to, you can see it at the top of the picture, but it doesn't actually flee off the table, and it's just going to rally on cold-blooded next turn. So, no points there. Reform to face the Saurus unit, which, like I said, he should have either left him in the building or popped him out behind it, but he's... looks at, he might be able to do something to my weakened Bloodletter unit. So he's going to try to get some big points that way. Fiend in the woods fails to win the combat against the Pterodons. I do kill one though, which is nice. Yeah. So as we go to my turn, my Bloodletters charge the Jungle Swarm, and Big Papa just moves down here. I think he actually charged the Skink Crocs unit after it killed the Fiend, and I think he failed the charge. And then here, I move my disc guy over so that he can cast some buffs on my Bloodletter unit that's fighting his bunker. And yeah, so here's just how things are looking over here. So in the combat against the Bloodletters, the combat with the Bloodletters against the bunker, I actually put everything on the Scarvet because I want to make room for one of the Slann, so it has to come forward so I can killing blow it. So I get in the magic phase, I get enchanted blades off of the unit, and I get a bunch of hits. I get 5 hits on the Saurus hero, and so I roll the dice looking for just a couple wounds, but hopefully a killing blow. But that's what I roll. So yeah, needless to say, no killing blows. Let's see. After I kill the jungle swarm, I reform my bloodletters into kind of a retarded long line. Basically, because he's got a unit of 2 salamanders running around, and I don't want him to take this unit under 25% through his magic and the salamanders to get points for it. So I just reform so he can't put the templates down. Which may or may not. I don't know if that was a good move. I don't remember how many turns left are left in the game at this point. Because if I don't have a turn where I can charge and do something, then it wasn't a good move. But if there's not enough turns left, then it was to protect the points. So I don't remember. Otherwise, that's how things are looking. Yeah, so basically the whole game just turns to be about this combat, and so he moves just shuffles stuff around. He has no reason to commit the Chameleon Skinks now because my general has some ranged magic and that I can use to kill him if he is too aggressive with him. So he just there's no point in even risking him. So as we go into the combat, this is actually going really well because, like I said, I have enchanted blades on my bloodletter unit, and so they're just doing a horrific amount of damage. They've killed a bunch of Saurus, and I think they're actually they've killed enough where he's going to have to start moving his Slann forward, and then I'll really be able to get some points. Let's see. So in my next turn, I just reform the bloodletters so that he can't get the salamanders to the flank, kill a bunch of them. Big Papa charges the Skink Crocs unit, and in hindsight, I probably should have at least gone for the charge to try to get the bloodletters in there. It was really far. I needed like a 9 or a 10, so I didn't even bother. But in hindsight, instead of reforming them super wide like that, I probably should have just gone for the charge. My Fiend has just been stuck fighting that stupid Pterodon in the forest this whole time. So basically, this is what the game's come down to, I think. Big Papa's not going to score any points. So basically, it's just down to this this fight right here, and basically the bloodletters are able to get the killing blow on the Death Slann, which I really would have preferred to kill the other one because it was the General and the BSB, I think. I don't remember, but yeah, I did kill the Death Slann, which is nice. So all he's got left is the Scarvet and the Slann. So I killed all the Saurus and one of his Death Wizards. So actually that was a huge swing for me, points-wise. And here we are, I think, is at the end of the game. I think that was the last turn, and then me killing that guy basically just gave me a bunch of points to win the game. And then you can see, if you're curious as to how Big Papa did in his combat, he killed loads of skinks. Of course he did. Yeah, so I believe that's the game. Might have been a minor win to me because I did kill the Slann. He got my BSB and chaff, and so it was a really, really close game. It might have been a slight win to me. So anyway, yeah, learned a lot. Keith learned that even if a bloodletter unit has no herald and it's taken a lot of damage, still don't even mess with it, because they can still get points from the characters and whatnot. But anyway, we ended up, yeah, like I said, this was a practice game for Crossroads. I ended up taking 8th. So for any of you who care, no battle reports for that though, unfortunately. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the game, and I'll catch you guys later.